Hey there, everybody, Ask a Christian friends and family. Real excited that it's Friday and it is going to be a great weekend. I'm feeling good about where the country is at. I'm feeling good about the pandemic. I'm not a prophet. I'm not going to make any time predictions, but I really feel like we're going to be out of the COVID by the end of May. People returning to work and stuff. But listen, don't hold me to it. That's just how I'm feeling. It's a nice spring day. Got good light, good fun. Anyway, I want to thank you for joining us, and I want to thank also some of the new subscribers. I am going to mention you by name next week. It's a little bit overwhelming to do right now because I want to introduce you to a friend and a guest. Listen, today we are going to have some fun with a friend of mine, Mr. Jim Marxmiller, and we're going to find out a little bit about his past, how God has led him, and some about his hobbies. He's really one of the coolest nature type guys I know, and I have a lot of respect for him and his leadership. I just want to welcome Jim Marxmiller to the show. Jim, I'm going to put you side by side with me.
Thank you,
Say
Amy.
hello. Pastor Rob's out there. He's saying hi, and that's our
Hello,
pastor.
everybody.
And Jim, I want to take a few minutes and get to know you and help people who know you but don't know your background, don't know your story, don't know how God got a hold of you and your heart. I want to just invite you to tell us, how did you start off life? Did you grow up in a Christian home, or what was your earliest kind of memories of Christ, God, Christianity?
I grew up in a very good Christian home, second generation Christian. I had a very normal beginning, went to school, church school, got baptized when I was about sixth grade, 11 or 12. It was almost a herd mentality, peer pressure type thing.
Push them in and dunk them kind of deal?
Yeah, it was, but it was okay. And it was the thing to do. And I'm glad I did. So that was kind of what we did. And then high school, same thing. But there was an experience in my senior year that really grabbed my spiritual life and made it real.
Ooh, I want to know about it. Were you, at any time, would you consider yourself a scallywag? Like, was there any time when you were not on the straight and narrow, Jim Marxmiller?
When you think of when I grew up, high school in the 60s, when there was a lot of social unrest, drugs, searching, free love, all kinds of things.
Ooh.
I was pretty much compliant with our religious family and so forth. I didn't go off the deep end. I didn't lose a lot of my spirituality and moral values. So that was where that was.
Yeah, that's a blessing just to be, even if you don't know where it's coming from, right? You got raised up in a home that had some oversight, some nurturing, and you didn't feel like you had to go crazy and rebel against that, I guess.
Our family was, I grew up in a family of 2 boys and 2 girls, children, and my mom and dad were always together. We were poor, so we had to kind of stick together to make ends meet, and always had a garden, did things together. It was a blessing that I look back and I say, wow. And our family today is extremely close and spiritual.
That's awesome. I think where I want to go next with this is like hearing you talk about this and the blessings, right? You're all about it, but for God to become real to you, it'd be so easy to just stay on that path and kind of go along with wherever it led. But there was a time when you felt like God spoke specifically to you. I want to hear about how it became real and personal, and like, okay, this God is not just an idea, an imaginary thing that guards my life. This is a God that might be personal.
Yeah, sometimes when you go through difficulties, you search and find, and that happened to me in my senior year. Senior year was really good. The principal even took us on a field trip to Haight-Ashbury, and so we saw a lot of things and difference and so forth. I wanted to go after graduation. I wanted to go to a college and become a teacher, and I wanted to go to college up in Angwin, Pacific Union College, and tuition was high, but my dad would not sign a loan agreement, and so I was not able to go to the college I wanted to, and I had to that first year go to a community college, and I needed money and I wanted to go my next year. And so what I did is I got a job driving school bus, and that was super. And then I had another job doing x-ray chemical installations down the valley in hospitals and recovering silver from the x-rays. And the school bus was a blessing because you had to start the engine and sit and log and wait for it for 15 or 20 minutes. And I got a book from one of my neighbors who watched me and saw Steps to Christ. And so I read that. Like, and I kept praying. I said, Lord, help me out. I want to go to college. I want to become a teacher. My uncle was a teacher. My aunt was a teacher. Just really wanted to do that. And so all of a sudden, this text, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, came into my life, and it became my motto text, my go-to. And it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not unto your own understandings, acknowledge him in all your ways, and he'll direct your paths. I was like, okay, that's it. God direct my paths. And it didn't seem to happen for a while, so I learned to be patient.
Were you praying that prayer regularly?
Oh man, every day I was like, what else can I do? How can I get in and do my goals? And reading the spiritual book, having time to sit and think and pray really made my religion real for me. Then I got a application.
I get the bus thing now. The bus is like you had to start it, and so you were like forced into this devotional time. It became a forcing function.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So then the other thing was I wanted to go to college, had no money. Dad wouldn't sign a loan. And so I said, Lord, help me out. Well, I got this, what they call the National Defense Student Loan Scholarship application. I submitted it, and it was for full tuition. And I thought, well, my GPA will probably be close enough. Submitted the application and got the letter, and it said, congratulations, you have been awarded a full scholarship to the school if you want, but we've run out of money and you're on a waiting list.
Oh, no.
Oh, God, come on. So I kept reading the text, acknowledge, lean on your own understanding. And I got another letter saying, you are number 273 on the list, and we think we'll get up to 300 for this fall, but we won't know till July. And of course, school starts in September. Finally got the letter saying, you have been awarded, and I got to college. And I said, Lord, thank you, thank you, thank you. And it's been that way the whole time since.
Wow. Well, here's my question. That's great and all. And I totally believe in claiming promises and saying, hey, God, just like you moved here in this person's life, would you move in my life? But how do you know that you are not leaning on your own understanding there? Or is it just the proof's in the pudding because it turned out well?
I think the good Lord gives you a brain to think and act and do things and take opportunities. But he provides opportunities and doors to open or close. And it's our job to kind of seek, listen, understand, be patient. And that's what's happened. And it's been that way the entire rest of my life.
Wow.
It really.
All right. So has that verse ever left your mind for, more than a day?
No, never. It has been my go-to. It has been the way I operate, my modus operandus, and it's just the way I operate. Acknowledge him. He will direct your paths, and it's been good. But there is the human element of knowing, looking, seeing, acting, and using good common sense, and asking people who also have leaned upon the Lord spiritually. They can give you advice and see things from a different perspective. So advice from other people have been extremely important to me.
Awesome. Hey, I asked you if you wanted to show off anything before we started this because you have made your dollars as a school teacher, but
Yes.
you have some other hobbies and gifts in sort of the ways of nature. And if I'm not mistaken, one of those ways has made you a couple dollars as well.
Which one?
Well, the salmon fishing, does that make dollars?
Fishing has been very good. Can I show it to you now?
Please.
Okay, so
What's
this
this?
this is a king salmon.
Mm,
He's 30 some odd inches long. And
okay.
I go to Alaska and commercially salmon fish each year. This last year was my 29th year, and it has been a blessing. It's incredible. We've actually brought a couple students from up there down to California to go to Christian schools here.
Mhm.
We become
Wow.
their guardians. So I have an Alaska daughter number 1, Christina, and Alaska daughter number 2, Alex, and we've helped them out. But it's also given my boys an opportunity to make some money and
Mm,
be a teacher during the summer. It's been a great experience. It's just been incredible. Someone who likes nature can watch beluga whales from 20 feet away, listen to them breathe, watch moose, watch caribou. It's been incredible.
wow. How has being involved in this changed your reading of scripture? Like, how has being a fisher guy changed when you come across passages in the Bible about fishing or Jesus being a fisher of men?
So in Luke 5, the first 11 verses talks about a story that I really related to after I started fishing. It was where Jesus was along the Sea of Galilee, and he saw a couple boats and fishermen were cleaning their nets. And he came along and said, "Hey, push me out in the boat so I can teach." And so he did. And then he got done. He came and told the guys, "Hey, put your net on this other side." And they said, "We've been fishing all night. There's been no fish."
Mm-hmm.
They went out and put their nets out and caught so many they had to call their partners over and have them help. And that has happened so many times to me as far as going out, not knowing what to expect, do what you think, and then we get so much fish we have to call our partners to help do it. It's amazing. It's been really a blessing.
It seems like a humbling moment where you realize if I go in now, I've failed for the day. Like I've got nothing to show for my time and effort. And while you might not be as financially dependent on that as some, there's probably some folks fishing along with you that really need that. Is that the case?
Absolutely, there are people that's their main living. In fact, we're just a couple months from going up fishing again this season, and with the COVID-19 virus and situation, there's a um, lot of concerns and what will happen if the village gets the virus,
Mm,
and that happened in 1919 with the Spanish flu, and so there's a lot of concern. But there's also a lot of ways to mitigate, and hopefully we'll do that. But it's been a blessing. The Adventist Church up in Dillingham has given fishermen's potluck. It's been a very good experience. The community up there is a very spiritual community, has many churches and
mm.
tight knit. It's a very good, great people up there, great nature, and a good experience.
Can you tell us one more fish tale, something just funny for comedic relief? Or you mentioned one time you may have been baptized for a second time.
Oh, I'm going to tell you two things. One, the
Okay.
very first year we got up there, I took my family, a student, our dog, our two boys, and the guy we bought our operation from said, "I'll come up and teach you how to do it." Well, the first day we went out and started fishing, and we were getting quite a few fish, and I think, well, this is really good. And then I said, well, our boat's getting lower and lower in the water. When do we go and deliver our fish? And he says, well, we're okay. Well, a few minutes later, water started coming in and swamped the boat. My
Oh,
first
no.
day out, and it was like, wow, what did I get into? And so we pulled over to our second boat, threw all the fish in. We had 3,700 pounds, which was a good amount. And that was good. And throughout the years, we've had very interesting experiences. We've saved a couple kids from drowning. From
Mm.
another neighbor that was drowning. His hat flew in the water. And then last year we always go into town to church and get a lot of supplies on the weekend. And we were heading back out to our cabin 12 miles away down the bay. And it was a little rough. We had 8 people in the boat. We'd gone to church and we'd done our prayer before. And we were going along, and about 12:30 at night, it was getting close to dark. All of a sudden, my crew said, "There's a net in front of us." I slowed down, and the boat bow went down. And all of a sudden, there were 3 gigantic waves that came over the boat and swamped us, and the boat sunk in 10 feet of water.
Oh,
It
no.
was like, well, I'd never had anything like that. But the miracle was some other fishermen were coming out, and within 10 minutes, we were all rescued and pulled out of the water. And it
Wow.
could have been a lot more. So it was a double dunking. But we also became members of the Nushagak Swim Club, they say.
Oh, yeah. Wow. So
So
that's not the first time that happened there,
we
apparently.
feel like we've been blessed many, many times, and it's the blessings just continue to flow.
Jim, where else do you see God in nature? It sounds like, fishing and being up there is a big revelation of who God is and the beauty, but you're into several other things.
When I was in high school, 3rd grade especially, my dad brought in something that I still continue to do, but high school was a big time. I did some insect collecting. And my grandmother was into nature clubs and so forth. And so I, to this day, do things. This is plaque butterflies that I collected this fall and pinned and made. And each one is beautiful and neat. And I see God in nature in so many different things. It's just amazing to see. There's also a lot of problems in nature, and that's caused my spirituality to sometimes say, why, God? And one of the areas is the creation story. Creation and evolution are diabolically opposed to each other, and a lot of evolutionary theories are based on interesting interpretation of facts, and it's hard to justify. But still, one has to look and see and have faith.
Yeah, I want to make mention for those who might be watching later. That's been a big interest of study for me and for a lot of other people, because I would love to be able to reconcile the biblical creation story with what science is teaching now. And there are tons of places of overlap, and there are tons of places of misunderstanding. So I don't want to discourage anyone who's watching, and I don't want to tell anybody what to believe, but I do want to encourage people to look at it, especially, I have plenty of Christian friends who see them side by side and believe in both. And, evolution or not evolution is not a prereq for Christianity, but there are some interesting things together about God and his ways and his character that come out of that. So I just want to encourage that study, and you can always hit me up on our Facebook page if you want to discuss more of that in detail. Jim, I want to bring up something that might be a little uncomfortable for you. Just say pass if you don't like it, but I am watching you as a Christian man trying to live your life according to these principles that God's given you, and leaning not unto your own understanding, as your favorite Bible verse says. But how do you live that during the tough times? How do you live that when somebody tries to take what's rightfully yours out of your bank account? How do you live that when when things are super uncomfortable? Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Tell a story there.
Sure.
Okay.
That happened this week. Looked
Yeah.
at my bank account and it was all drained. I mean, it was like, what's going on? There's a lot of evil in the world. There's a lot of problems, but overall, things will work out. And the quote in the Bible, "This too shall pass,"
Yeah.
is so true. And stuff happens. We're down here on earth where there's good and evil, and a tug of war between the two, and it'll work out. The Lord provides, things happen, the Lord provides, and you look at the big picture, and I mean, I've lost money, I've lost people, relationships. There's been people that have died that have been dear to me, and things happen.
Yeah.
But overall, this too shall pass. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your understanding. And sometimes things will work out in the long run. It may not be the short run, and patience
Mm.
may have to take a lifetime, but it's going to work out.
Yeah. Thanks for that. I think anyone can be happy and jovial and claim to be leaning on God when things are going well. We read that in the story of Job, right? But what happens when the stuff hits the fan? And
Yeah.
that's when I think we can really differentiate ourselves from somebody who doesn't have that hope or that kingdom mindedness. Ups and downs, ups and downs. But I see the Christian as more of a steady, because you're not losing hope when your bank account's drained. I
It
really appreciate that.
One of those big picture items. Little stuff happens. You stub your toe, it heals. Bad stuff will happen. And you look at the Bible, look at all the people where stuff happened to them. And you mentioned Job. There's a
Mhm.
lot of people, David, Solomon. Many people had stuff that hit the fan,
Yep.
and they came out okay. And I think in the long term, acknowledge him, and things will be directed for you.
Jim, I want to kind of wrap this up with some of your thoughts on maybe a more broader view, but how has being a man of faith been worth it to you? Like, the Christian is not, like we're talking about, the Christian is not stopped from having downs in their life. The Christian does not get through life unscathed. Why is, I mean, you spend tons of time in church. You are on your church board. You're involved in school stuff still because, the great influence you have. People keep asking you to do stuff. You spend hours a week, and you could be playing golf. You could be fishing. You could be just enjoying life at this time. How is being a Christian even worth it?
So we're going through the pandemic, COVID-19, and there's a lot of despair. But in the news, they show bright spots of hope. I
Mm,
think the Christian life gives you hope for the future. I think that there is so much more to look forward to than the despair that surrounds us. And so, as a Christian, looking at what happens and looking at the what will happen, the hope that is there. Um, that's where I have my faith. It's my moral compass. It keeps me going. It's a broad picture. I know things will turn out okay.
mm, thank you. You mentioned earlier in the interview that there was a book that was influential in your life called Steps to Christ. I
Right.
know there's a bit more, an easy read version called Steps to Jesus. Are there any other resources that have gotten you through tough times, or any books that you're just loving right now that you'd like to leave? Especially, I love the fisherman's perspective. I love that about you. It's like everybody needs a salty sailor in their life. So,
Well, there are several books and several religious writers, authors. Great Controversy is another one, but Ellen G. White. But the Bible is really good, and that is
it is.
probably the primary place. I would highly recommend starting with the Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They all have a different perspective, but
Mm,
they do show Christ and the Christian way and the values and what you should do, loving your neighbor. And that's what we all need to do, is help those around us. So
mm,
whatever it is, your neighbors, people along the side of the street, wherever, that gives you a big view. And the satisfaction of helping people is immense. It just makes those endorphins in your brain just do great things. So those are where I would start, particularly Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
all right. Well, Jim, any other parting words of advice for those who are seeking to live the Christian life? Any words of advice or any shout outs to anyone special that you didn't get in earlier?
I am going to just keep saying Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 really helped me. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not into your own understanding. In all your ways, submit or acknowledge to Him, and He will direct your
Mm.
paths and make them straight. It's really helped me out and got me through many years of difficulty. And I thank my wife and my boys. It's my youngest son's 41st birthday today, and so happy birthday.
Hey, that's awesome. All right. Well, it's been a treat and a pleasure getting to know you a little bit better, Jim. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for a life well lived. It's an awkward thing, but we're looking at you. We're looking to be led. Having a man of God, a salty sailor man of God in your life, everyone should have. And so, thank you for your influence and your leadership. And it's a joy to be your friend and get to know you better this year.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Amy. You have been a very good friend, and come over and get eggs from us anytime you want. My chickens keep laying more.
Yeah, they like me. I'll try to bring them something special next time. But Jim,
Okay.
thank you so much. I'll end this interview and then we can chat for a minute afterwards. And if you guys have any questions for Jim or for me, or questions about this verse, if you want to know how you can claim this verse for your own life, please hit me up on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/askachristianfriend. And of course, some of you are watching this on YouTube as well. Thank you for those who have tuned in and stuck with us. We'll see you next time. Next guest next week. I think we've got one scheduled for Tuesday, but hit that subscribe button, hit that notify me button when you see it pop up, and you'll get to know the next person whose life is a testimony to Christ. Thanks so much, Jim.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. See you next time.